Okay, so this is our review for arithmetic sequences for the Unit 3 test. Basically, if you can count your terms and use your formulas right, you'll be fine. So you'll be given the formulas. Make sure, just as a reminder, this is the explicit. AN equals A1 plus n minus 1 times the difference, okay? And then the recursive is simply A1 equals a number, and then AN, the next term, equals the previous term plus the difference. Alright, so we'll be using those the entire time. So, when you're looking at these, determine whether each sequence is an arithmetic sequence. If so, find the common difference. You're seeing if there's a common difference. 6, 12, 18, 24. Yeah, there's a difference of plus 6. So that's that. The next 5 terms, just add to 24. You'd have 30, 36, 42, 48, and 54. Okay. Looking at one like 3, you can see 2 to 14 is 12, but then 14 to 98 is not 12. So this would be no, and there's no common difference, and then you wouldn't have to do anything else. Be careful looking at ones with the table. For instance, 400 to 200, then to 100, that's minus 200, that's minus 100. This is no, okay? And then even look at this, plus 7 to get to negative 5, plus 7 to get to 2, but then, or plus 7 to get to 9, but then from here to here, so you had plus 7, here you had plus 11, so that would mean no, okay? So be careful looking at those. Where you really need to work on is make sure you can turn things into the simplified explicit formula. So using this formula, right, simplifying it. So can you put A1 and the difference in and simplify it? Alright, so for number 7, you always need A1 and the difference. So this is A1, A1 is negative 10, and if you check negative 10 to negative 4 to 2, the difference is plus 6, okay? So what's happening here is, you can write out your formula, A1 plus n minus 1 times the difference, A1, negative 10, plus n minus 1, nothing in for n because we're just writing the formula, and then the difference is 6. Distribute the 6 to the n, don't distribute the negative 10, so plus 6n, 6 times n is 6n. Negative 1 times 6 is minus 6. Alright. And then combine like terms. Negative 10 plus negative 6 is negative 16. Put the 6 in first. And there's your formula. And I'm going to bring this down just a little bit so it might be a little easier to see. There we go. And that's it. Okay, so same thing for 7, 8. The only thing in 9 that you have to look at, you have a 1. Make sure you can look at your recursive formula and see that that number right there is the difference. Okay. Now number 10 can be tricky because you don't have a 1 and you only know the difference. One way to do it is to know, well, if I'm at a 7, okay, and my difference of plus 3 would give me a 8, that was plus 3, I need to go minus 3 to go back to A1. So if it takes you writing it out like this, then that's fine. 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, 0, so A1 is 0. Okay. Now, if you needed to do it algebraically, what you would do is say, all right, I know A7 is 18, So you would simply say, all right, well, 18 equals A1, since we don't know A1, plus 18 was the 7th term. Okay, so you'd have 18 equals A1 plus 6 times 3. 18 equals A1 plus 18. Subtract your 18. And A1 is 0. And if you think about it, if you look over here, how many times did we count down from 7 to get back to 1? So we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We minus 3 6 times, and that's what we did over here. We did 3 6 times, got 18, and then we subtracted the 18 because we needed to go back 18. So A1 would be 0. And the difference is 3. And then these are just like number 7. Okay. Write the recursive formula. It's very simple. You need to know A1. You need to know the difference. The term in front of n will always be your difference. So here D is -4. So be careful to get A1. Very simply, substitute 1 in. So A1 would be 15 minus 4 times 1. So 15 minus 4 times 1 is 4. 15 minus 4 is 11. So for your recursive formula, A1 is 11. And then you'd have AN minus 1 minus 4, since that's our difference. 12 is a tricky one because you need to find the difference. Okay? In order to do that, you have to see how many spaces, how many units you went, 52 to 115, and over how many terms. So this is just finding slope. So you say y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 is basically what we're doing. 115 minus 52 over 10 minus 3 equals 63 over 7, which is 9. So our difference is 9. We don't have a 1 though, but if I know A3 is 9, or sorry, if A3, oh, I'm sorry, I'm out of frame. If A3 is 52, and my difference is to add 9, then to go backwards, I subtract 9. So you'd have 43, and then A1 would be 34. AN minus 1 plus 9. So what would the domain and range be for the above problem number 12? Basically, since it's stopping at 10, you would go, the domain will be 1 through 10, and then the range would be the terms that you would get from substituting 1, or what the first term is, what's the second term, what's the third term, and so on and so forth. Looking on the back, you got some pretty simple stuff here. Find the indicated term. Always use the explicit formula if you want to find a certain term. I mean, it makes life much easier. And then you might look over here and say, well, what term am I looking for? Well, right here it says the 17th. So what you can do, I'll write the work here. Find the difference, 0 to negative 0.25. You are subtracting 0.25 here. So what happens is AN equals, or sorry, A17 equals the first term, which is 0, plus, we want the 17th term, 17 minus 1 times negative 0.25. And you can do that in your calculator. 17 minus 1 times negative 0.25. You'd get 16 times negative 0.25. Oh, sorry, 24. Right? And that's going to come out to be negative 4. So whenever it's asking for the term, that's what your n will become. N will become that number. So like the 51st term, you have 51. And then A1 would go, where A1 would go, and the difference would go where the difference goes. And that's all there is to that. Looking at some of these word problems, okay. So Paul has $680 in a savings account. He makes a deposit after he receives each paycheck. After 1 month, keyword 1 month, he has $758 in the account. The next month, the balance is $836. The balance after the third is $914. How much money will be left in his account after 16 months? Well, A1 is $758. The difference, we need always the A1 in the difference. $758 to $836 is going to be, let me use my calculator here, $836 minus $758 is $78. And then I want to know 16 months, so that's my N. Alright, so I get A16 equals A1, 758, plus 16 minus 1 times the difference, which is 78. And you can literally put that part in your calculator. So watch what I do. If that's what I need to type, then I type it in just like I write it. That's why I like putting parentheses and everything in there. So clear that out. 758 plus 16 minus 1 times 78 equals 1928. And that's your answer. Be careful with ones like 19 is basically the same. 20, be careful here. Make sure you know that this is A1 because we're charging for one person in here. Okay, and the difference is 30. Be careful with 21 because this time Grant's planting one large tree and several smaller trees. He has a budget of $1,400. A large tree costs $200. Each smaller tree is $150. How many total trees can Grant purchase with his budget? Now you might think, oh well, I've got $1,400. He is planting one tree. One tree is going to cost $200. I know I'll have to take away $200 and I'll only have $1,200 left. And then why don't I just split that up over $150? So divide $1,200 by $150 and I'll get 8. I know I can plant 8 trees. That's great that you can think that in your mind. Now, to set it up nice, you can simply say, all right, well, AN equals that $200 for that tree plus, oh, sorry. Oh yeah, there we go. N minus 1 times the difference here, which is 30. I'm sorry, this is my A0 term. Please forgive me. What I wanted to mention here is sometimes it's easier to set this up as like it were just a function. If I know I have a starting amount, what's called an A0 term, okay, then very simply I can just do my difference. I have to start at 200 and that's it, just like we've done in functions. So if I want to know how much I can spend on with 1,400, I don't know the number of trees, I can just say 1,400 equals 150n plus 200, and here comes this, but with it set up nicely so we can follow our steps. Minus 200, 1,200 equals 150n, divide by 150, n represents our number of trees, of smaller trees, okay? And that is all. So just practice, cover the problems up so you can set them up on your own, check the key, check your work, and you'll be good to go.